Thank you, everyone, for attending here today. Well, welcome to the CIC Providence Cambridge Innovation Center here in our Innovation District in Providence. Also want to thank our partners, Trailblaze Marketing and Rhode Island College, for helping support this event. The governor, this is the governor's AI task force, and we actually have the Lieutenant Governor, Sabina Matos, here as well, so thank you so much for attending and being part of this. We are living in an extraordinary moment in our history. Artificial intelligence is not just a buzzword anymore, right? It's a transformative force that is reshaping our lives at home. Someone was talking to me about how they use it for their groceries. At work, transforming how we work, how we govern, really every aspect of our lives. And here in Rhode Island, we have a rare and powerful opportunity to lead, to innovate, and to do it responsibly. So when Governor McKee issued the AI executive order, it wasn't just a policy move, it was a call to action, a recognition that we are at a critical inflection point, one that demands thoughtful leadership, inclusive dialogue like this event today, and real strategy. As Vice Chair of the AI Task Force, it's been a privilege to work alongside a remarkable group of leaders from government, industry, academia, and nonprofit world. We didn't want to just react to AI, we wanted to understand it, shape it, and it serves the people of Rhode Island. So that's what we're here to talk about today, is to update you all on what's been going on in this AI Task Force. But most importantly, it's all about you. Thank you all for attending this event, to being part of the community here in Rhode Island, and we want to hear from you. Like, what are your thoughts? This AI Task Force report is not final. It's in the very early stages of the draft mode. So literally, your input will impact how we shape the future of Rhode Island. I want to thank all the task force members as well who has been, this is a volunteer initiative, right? So I believe we have one task force member here, Addison. He represents the youth. Now, he's been a member since high school. He's actually a high school student, but acts well above his age. And I think that's it for task force members, right? And obviously, I'm going to now pass it off to our lovely panelists. We have two top-notch panelists here today. And we'll start it off by introducing yourself and what your role is within the task force. Congressman Langevin.
Chris, thank you very much. Jim Langevin, recovering politician, and I now serve as the distinguished chair of the Institute for Cybersecurity and Emerging Technologies at Rhode Island College. The task force actually, the governor's task force actually is run through the institute, not by it, but through it, and played a major role in helping to lead this effort. But the governor formed this task force with the vision of preparing Rhode Island for artificial intelligence, which is here today and is going to be with us for the long haul. I'm not new to artificial intelligence, although I led the effort in Congress on cybersecurity. I also created the USCAI, which is the United States Commission on Artificial Intelligence, which was chaired by Eric Schmidt, Dr. Eric Schmidt, former CEO of Google, and Bob Work, Deputy Secretary of Defense, that led a year-long process and issued their final report when I was still a member of Congress. And then the governor and I spoke, and he asked me to lead the AI effort here in Rhode Island in this task force. So great to be with you, and looking forward to hearing your input and giving you, I must say, an overview as well of our progress this far. Tim?
Okay, thank you. I'm Timothy Henry, and I'm Department Chair of Computer Science and Information Systems at Rhode Island College. I've been working with AI for about the last 25 years now, I guess, maybe a little bit longer even. My role on the task force is the academic team lead. The academics, we have faculty from several different universities, University of Rhode Island, Brown University, New England Tech, Bryant University, and Rhode Island College, working on the task force and coordinating the fact-finding teams. The fact-finding teams were the groups that went out and did research in each of their areas. We had a fact-finding team in the government area, how government would use AI, risks, benefits to using AI, opportunities. We had a team in manufacturing. We had a team in finance, a team in healthcare, a team in small businesses and nonprofits, and education. Okay, forget the one I'm part of. And so the academics on that coordinated all the activities for the fact-finding teams, went out, got additional input in addition to the members of the fact-finding teams, helped work with the different teams to put together the reports for each of the full task force meetings, and then is working diligently right now on pulling together the final report for the governor.
Thank you, Dr. Tim Henry. What I want to do with you all is give you a chronological timeline of how this started, what we have done since then, and what we're going to be delivering. So it started with the AI executive order. The governor signed that the end of 2023, I believe, the very end of 2023. And this was created because I spoke to the governor, and he's like, okay, I think this is something I should talk about. But then he spoke to Congressman Langevin, and he's like, okay, this is definitely something that we should be acting on. And what was the governor's motivation behind forming this AI executive order?
Sure. Well, I think a large part the conversation began, Chris, when you were speaking with the governor, and then I was speaking with the governor. It was kind of all came together, and a convergence of points of I don't know if the word is urgency, but of importance in AI. That it's clearly a disruptive technology that is here to stay, and the governor clearly sees that Rhode Island needs to be prepared for artificial intelligence. We want to benefit from all the upsides of artificial intelligence, but we also want to be prepared for and limit the downsides of AI, and both of which are still evolving and will be for the foreseeable future. So the governor's motivation is to make sure that Rhode Island is prepared for AI, taking advantage of, again, the upsides wherever we can, and then they're preparing for the downsides, and making sure that clearly no one is left behind when it comes to AI.
Right, so that's the goals of the AI task force, right? The AI executive order created the AI task force. It also created the AI Center of Excellence that will be, and also created the Chief Digital Officer, Brian Tardif, created that role at least, didn't create Brian himself. That's another way to use AI. But the primary goals of this task force, as Congressman Langevin said, is to mitigate and minimize the potential risks with AI, but also maximize these opportunities. Rhode Island was once the leader in the Industrial Revolution. Why can't we be the leader in the AI revolution, or at least a leader here of what makes us unique? Let's be proactive, and the governor was all behind that, created this task force with those are the two goals. And this task force had a really diverse group of individuals, Dr. Tim Henry. It included members from state government. Can you kind of tell us who comprised of the task force?
Well, it was comprised of members of different departments at the state government level. We had municipal leaders as part of the task force also. We had Addison as a representative of the youth in the high school age group. But we also had members from each of the different industries, such as finance, leaders from Fidelity, from Citizens Bank, from
Amica.
Healthcare,
yes.
we had
healthcare
CEO,
also
yep.
From Care New England participated, and we had a number of also, I want to say, a large group of people from each of the different areas. There were 24 actual members, but that was just of the core task force team itself. Each of the fact-finding teams brought in a dozen different people in each of those different areas in order to support what the task team members were doing in their domain.
And how did those fact-finding teams work? So we have the AI task force, which has these 24 members split up between public and private sectors to kind of a microcosm of each of those 6 groups that we talked about. But then we had these fact-finding teams that comprised of a few of these task force members, but led by someone in academia. They did a lot of the research, as well as local and national vendors. I mean, we had Google and IBM present, as well as local companies like an Infused Innovation. So a good mix of local and national. But how did it work? We had this task force meeting with all the task force members, but how did those fact-finding teams operate?
Right. The full task force meeting usually was to kind of go over what had been covered so far, to give direction to the fact-finding teams going out afterwards. The first round of the fact-finding teams was just kind of a survey of the landscape. What's going on here in Rhode Island and what's going on nationally? What are some of the advancements that are happening? Getting an idea of some of the challenges that have been coming up. So after the first round, the second round was starting to dig a little bit deeper and say, okay, Rhode Island, and we really tried to focus on the implications for Rhode Island itself. So we looked at what are some of the real opportunities we have here in Rhode Island for that AI can help us with, and what can AI do for us. So it wasn't looking just to, okay, we've got this great new tool. It was more of a focus of, okay, we have some opportunities and some challenges here in Rhode Island. Where can this tool help us succeed in those areas? And then we also looked at risks associated with it. And one of the big risks, which will probably come up a little bit later, is just the unreliable data, both going in and coming out of artificial intelligence. And so part of what the fact-finding teams were looking at is, okay, how do we mitigate those type of risks in going forward? So the fact-finding team went through those, digging in deeper, really focusing on this particular industry that they were part of. And then we'd pool that all together at the fact-finding team meeting, or at the full task force meetings, and say, okay, here's all the information from the individual industries and domains. What are some of the commonalities? What are some of the things that percolate to the top that everybody has a concern about, everybody sees as an opportunity for Rhode Island? What are some of the things that can really distinguish Rhode Island and make it special?
And if I could, I'll add to that. That's a great overview. We also asked industry leaders and participants about where they're seeing AI being used right now, how they may be using it in their industry. What do they see as the benefits, and what do they see as the potential downsides? And certainly the data integrity piece was very important. The other thing that we talked about is the algorithms and how they're written, and the integrity of the algorithms, making sure that we're rooting out bias in those algorithms, and making sure that the diversity is of the data and the programmers are included, and making sure that again it's the whole concept of garbage in, garbage out, and we want to make sure that we have as streamlined and algorithm data, and that is as comprehensive and as accurate as it possibly can be.
So that gives you an idea of the structure of the AI task force. Before we talk about what type of data we analyzed, what type of recommendations and ideas that were generated from this task force. So let's talk about the next phase, which is how do we learn from others? How do we synthesize these insights and data? One thing that we did is look at other states. Rhode Island wasn't the first state to do this, but Rhode Island was not the last state to do this. In fact, we were kind of ahead of the curve, so to speak. There was, at this point, there's about almost 25
about 30
to
35.
35. But when we started it in 2023, there was less than that. So we were definitely on the front half of this, which is great to see. But we did look at the advantage of being in that position, is you can kind of see what other states are doing and what's working and what's not working. So New Jersey actually has a good model in terms of AI. New York, California. What did we learn from some of these other states as we were formulating our task force?
So the different areas of focus and outcomes. There's some states, New York, for example, as I recall, is taking very much looking at a regulatory approach. Massachusetts heavily leaning in on life sciences and the like. So each state may be approaching it differently. Our North Star, in a lot of ways, was the governor's 2030 plan, and that's raising academic scores and raising household incomes is what is helping to guide our work, and how do we envision that AI envisioning those goals and achieving those goals. But again, still a work in progress, and still the report is being developed, input is being given. One of the things I'm very pleased about, I know, Chris, this is something that you were very forward-leaning on, is public input. And we had a public survey portion of this where the public could weigh in and give their thoughts on AI, what do they see as benefits or concerns, and what should be included. And then a public forum like this as well is essential.
It's very important that we have the public involved in this. This is what's going to impact them, all of us, all Rhode Islanders. And the 24 task force members, the academia, and all those that are volunteering. We don't know everything, and we want your input. So the survey was great. We had hundreds of submissions about how individuals, foresee the opportunities, the risks. And right now, when it comes to the top risks that the task force identified with AI adoption, especially in government and in the public sector, how do we recommend addressing those top risks? Starting with you, Dr. Tim.
Okay, everybody's looking at me, so I guess this one's mine.
Yeah.
Well, probably the recurring top risk is what I said, the unreliable data going in and data coming out. What generative models produce for us. And part of the problem is looking at methods to control the data, or policies, procedures to provide guidance. I think one of the big things to come out of, or the different conversations we had in the different industries, there are a lot of industries, businesses, groups that are looking for guidance. They want to be able to use these tools, but they don't know what the risks are, what the responsibilities they have in producing the data. So finding a way to provide guidance to them. And then the second is to be there to support them, to show them what to do. So giving them an idea, if they know what to do, they can go ahead and take it, but also finding a way to support people, to educate them so that they know what the risks are, they know how to mitigate the risks, because the government, we can't do it all ourselves. We need to have everyone educated to be able to understand what the risks are, and then understand the impact that has on what the outputs of AI produces. And AI is a we use the term AI, but it's really a system. And there are a lot of pieces in the system, not just the tool that generates what you see at the end. And so part of it is understanding what parts are generative, where the risks are in each of those parts.
Yeah, I think the kind of the key word is governance. We want to make sure that there's good oversight of how the algorithms are used, how data is used. For example, data privacy is going to be essential. Security, cybersecurity, and security in general will be of concern. We want to make sure there's proper bumper guards, especially whenever any public data is used. We see great benefits to data that is collected and can be anonymized and can be used for research. Certainly in the area of medicine, that's going to bring great benefits. But again, patient privacy will be essential. So you want to make sure that there's proper bumper guards in place, especially where any public information is involved.
There's a lot of risks with AI. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities, but it's our job to make sure we communicate what these risks are and do our best to develop guardrails around them. AI is scary, right? I am a huge AI proponent. My shirt says, say hello to the AI revolution. I run Trailblaze, an AI-powered growth firm. Even I am concerned with AI, right? When it comes to jobs, when it comes to what it means to be human. If you've recently seen some of the models from Google with VO, the video generation, you cannot tell what's real and not real anymore. Yep. It's unbelievable. It's exciting as a marketing agency. It's also scared. I almost said another. It's almost scary, right? As well. So I kind of want to pause for a second and just listen and hear from you guys, right? There's a lot of fear with AI, and it deep-rooted in our subconscious because we are no longer going to be the most intelligent species. But anyways, what are your top risks when it comes to AI, whether it's in your business, like a bank, whether it's at home? I have 3 kids, whether it's for your family. Whether it's for jobs, like what are your top risks? We have Jen here from Trailblaze that will pass the mic number 4 to you.
I'm Joan Peckham, retired from the University of Rhode Island, but still working part-time, and in the Center for Computational Research. So we talk a lot about AI, since the AI lab is under that center. And one of I have concerns, and I want to say I'm really happy about this report and that the state is doing this. This is really wonderful. One of my top concerns is about the voters in democracy. How do we make sure that we educate everyone, even the people who are still not in school or not even full-time employed, retired people like me? We, want to make sure that people understand, know how to trust and understand the information they're seeing online.
It's a great question. I mean, that kind of goes back to the what's real, what's not, and information and misinformation and disinformation. And Congressman, you saw this when you were in Congress as well, even before the advent of AI Gen.
Sure. So I think you'll see in our report, we're going to talk about the need for public education programs. Things like deep fakes do concern me, whether it's voice or video, and understanding that, and how is the state going to handle that? How does the federal government, Congress handle that? There is a suggestion, and I hope that something like this we can see things like watermarking enacted as a requirement. Watermarking would be clear indicator of that this was AI generated, and some way of the public, when you're looking at an image, when you're hearing a voice, some watermarking to know how it was generated. And this was not, say, a person that generated it, was generated by artificial intelligence. So that's something that, again, falls in the realm of governance and how we allow AI to be used. Because like with any new technology, it can be used for good or it can be used for bad. I've seen this in my work in the national security area, whether it's on the Armed Services Committee or the House Intelligence Committee or Homeland Security Committee, of how foreign governments are using things like botnets and false messaging to undermine our democracy, divide us against each other. In a lot of ways, it's that can be used as it's a low-cost, high-payoff intelligence operation when messages can be put out there and it's used to divide us as a country. We have enough, there's enough differences of opinion in just regular politics these days. But then you inject, a disruptive technology like AI into that, and it can be used for some pretty bad things as well as good things.
So I just want to add, too, that it is a major concern about deep fakes and how do you tell what's real and what's not. Along with watermarking is, I want to say, instead of watermarking what's AI, is being able to watermark what is authentically produced by a human or sponsored by a particular organization. In the same way, when we communicate with banks, there's a digital signature that goes with the communication that goes back and forth as we're communicating over the internet. Generating a unique digital signature for things produced by a particular organization prevent it from being copied or produced, replicated by somebody else. And so that's another type of technology. But we need to educate people to look for that when it gets implemented and such. So education is a big piece of what has to happen.
Great question. Does anyone else want to add some concern? We'll go with Stefan in the back corner there.
Hi, everybody. I have two questions. One about workforce and one about regulation. When it comes to the workforce, like obviously Rhode Island wants to capitalize on this new revolution. How do we build the engineering and STEM pipeline to fill some of the jobs? Because if we'll have a lot of energy around AI and other advanced industries, but not really the engineers and the people to fill them in Rhode Island.
Sure. Well, let me jump on that first, and then I'll pass it to Dr. Henry. First of all, it's very important to the governor that no one is left behind, and so I think you're going to see things in our final report that talk about K through 12 education, post-secondary education, and then upskilling for current workers, so that we again are able to harness the power of AI, and it helps both current workers, but also the pipeline of talent that's going through our education system now.
I'm excited naturally about the education piece and how we get the workforce trained. Looking at the K-12, already there is professional development for faculty in how to use AI in the classroom, how to teach students about artificial intelligence. So not just, okay, these are good ways to use it, but these are, this is what it really is. What we're hoping to do through the task force, and this is still being worked out, is to kind of provide a framework for that. Now, Rhode Island is one of the first states to have computer science being required, or actually having standards, and then having it be required for high school graduation. The class of 2028 is required to have half a credit in computer science in some form. And so we've already kind of laid the foundation. We can expand on that in the K through 12 space. Then in higher education, Rhode Island College already has an artificial intelligence major and a couple of minors. Other universities are expanding their AI offerings so that in the secondary education front. And then I think that one of the things we're hoping to do as part of the workforce is to expand, as part of the task force, is to expand workforce training opportunities.
And let me give a plug for one of the things that Dr. Henry is leading, and what's happening at Rhode Island College. There's always a lag between what's being taught in academia and what the real world needs are, and that's why K through 12 will be working to adopt AI post-secondary. I'd like to, I'm pleased that at Rhode Island College we're actually leading in one of those areas, in AI adoption, and that's we offer now a major and 2 minors in artificial intelligence. And one of those minors, it doesn't require that you have a technical background. It allows you to look at how AI is used across a broad range of fields. So if you're in nursing or you're in finance, Dr. Henry can give even more detail, but it's going to be essential in the workforce, and a minor like that is preparing you across any number of fields.
Right, and that the idea is this minor is more for non-technical people, applications of artificial intelligence, so they can learn how to integrate it into their workplace. But it's hopefully going to be the foundation for a certificate program that people in the workforce can come in and take the courses in this minor and get a certification in artificial intelligence, application of it.
There's a lot of reports out there, and honestly, who really knows what the future holds? But recently, IBM did come out with a report that 40% of all jobs as of today will need to be reskilled within 3 years. And that was about a half a year ago, so probably within 2.5 years. So it's that K through 12, it's that higher ed, but that's almost easier. It's the post-education workforce, the 20 to 80, we'll just say, year old demographic, where we really need to ensure that we're providing opportunities for upskilling and workforce development, but it's tricky. So the Director of Labor and Training, Matt Weldon's on the task force. We proposed this to him, and one of the things he said that I didn't really think about, he's like, there's a high cost to, let's say, educate one individual, and if you times that by 300,000 people or 200,000 people, whatever that 40% of the workforce is, it's a number that's, we don't have that in the budget. So how can we develop programs that's one-to-many instead of one-on-one? And we're open to suggestions, and they're researching it. And I know that's something important to Lieutenant Governor Matos is the workforce development in small businesses. So we're open to all of these suggestions because it is something that we got to really think about. And workforce development is going to be a pillar, if not the pillar, hopefully, of our potential recommendations out of the task force. So I'm going to go to the next question just for time's sake. And it's going to be another interactive one. It's my favorite question, actually. It's a question I keep asking the task force members ad nauseum. What makes Rhode Island especially well positioned to lead in AI? Whether it's our size, our institutions, specific areas like ocean tech or life sciences, manufacturing. That was a leading question, my bad. But because if we think about it, right, every state is going to be doing a task force. If we want to be a leader in this AI revolution, we have to do something that's unique to us, our state, our population. What is that, right? What are your initial thoughts? And let you think about that as I pass it off to Congressman Langevin to say, what are some things that the task force is thinking that we're well positioned to lead on?
Well, I clearly I also want to hear from the audience, but I want to make sure, and most especially Governor McKee wants to make sure that no one is left behind, that we are AI ready. Rhode Island is AI ready. And so that's going to be a big area of focus, making sure that we have AI ready graduates and an AI ready workforce.
Well said. I'll just buying you guys time. So anyone else want to go first? All right.
So hello, everybody. My name's Chuck. I guess my question, or I guess one of the fears that I want to talk about earlier is like, what's our end goal? Like AI is such this, broad category, right? There are tools and a subset of tools within that can increase a tremendous amount of productivity across all spaces. I think my biggest fear is that we might miss an opportunity where we don't have to introduce a non-zero amount of risk introducing AI that we can use basic automation for to still improve the lives of people in Rhode Island, regardless of industry or what have you. So I guess all that to say is when we're doing this evaluation and we're looking at finance, we're looking at HR, looking at these certain areas, are we going on a strictly AI, non-AI type evaluation where we don't want to introduce that risk, or we do want to introduce that risk, or are we looking at it in a lens where, hey, maybe we can tackle some of this with your basic traditional automation and still have a huge impact?
I think it's a balance, right? We don't want to be completely risk adverse, but we want to be cognizant of the risks to mitigate it, and it depends on what we're talking about. So if we're talking about the public sector, the government, there's going to be more regulation in there because we're dealing with constituent data and personal data. Same thing with healthcare and even finance. But maybe if we're talking about small businesses in general, or nonprofits, or technology and startups, maybe we can be a little bit more aggressive on how we can help educate and provide resources like an AI hub, maybe in this building, I don't know, maybe at Rhode Island College, an AI hub where people can go to learn and test out AI tools without the cost of developing your own infrastructure. So I think it's a balance, but I don't think we want to walk too scared unless it's a area where we should be very cautious, like public sector and healthcare.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it, that we don't want to be too risk averse, but at the same time, we need to act responsibly, especially where any public data or public information or public services are involved. And so, there's going to be a role for the executive branch to play, the legislature, of course. I know that the Rhode Island State Senate just created their AI committee. Senator Gu is chairing that, and the House has a similar oversight committee that we're looking at artificial intelligence. But then, again, involving the public and transparency and how algorithms and how data is used, how they were developed, make sure they're rooting out bias. All that is going to be essential. That transparency and public involvement will be essential going forward. And it's never going to be a one and done. This is an iterative process that will continue for the foreseeable future.
So let's go back to the question of what makes Rhode Island unique. What's our unique? That's what excites me, right? I want to be number one. I want to be a leader in this AI revolution. I want Rhode Island to really be one of the top there. What are some of the unique advantages this beautiful ocean state has to offer? Over here.
I think our strongest research area is machine learning and AI. And we've invested in a lot of faculty hires in that area, and we're hoping to continue doing so. So sort of two strengths that I would say. One, the State Research University has a strong machine learning presence. Two, there is this maybe little known but really wonderful institution, which is the Rhode Island Commerce Corporation, which funds research grants as industry partnerships with academia. And so I've had a couple of those grants. That sort of mechanism, especially if we could better fund it and continue to leverage those partnerships between academia and industry, would really be beneficial. I think those are kind of the unique strengths. We're not going to compete on the number of universities with the Boston area, right? But we're going to compete on sort of very intensive focus.
Well said. That's a great example of the commerce, Rhode Island Commerce, like our economic development arm here in Rhode Island. That public-private partnerships is a great example. Other thoughts, ideas of what makes Rhode Island unique?
My name is Nicole Eller. I work with a lot of small businesses in the marketing sector as well, and I kind of want to jump on what this gentleman said. We have a lot of really tied in small business development centers that are connected to all the universities. We have chambers of commerce who are very willing and ready to kind of get involved as well. And so coming in from a small business perspective who works with a lot of single entity businesses where they're trying to figure out how they're supposed to adopt this to make themselves more competitive out there and what can they do. I think there's a huge opportunity to make sure that we continue to connect private and public sector and having these conversations. You mentioned, the concern for being able to educate many at, on a regular basis. And I think that would be an ideal way to have those conversations, particularly with small business owners, many of whom are very skeptical of AI and even just basic automations, as to what the other gentleman was saying, because we have that conversation all the time.
Well said. Thank you. It's a backbone of our economy, that's for sure, Rhode Island. Small state with the biggest heart. Anyone else have any ideas? Yes, we got another one.
Change manager for organizations and also an adjunct at Bryant University. My past has been in the customer experience, and I know that we can use AI to improve the customer. Thank you. We can use AI for customer experience orchestration. So if the state were to do a project like that to improve the way it interacts with its citizens, not that it's bad now, but, how do we leverage AI to provide a better experience for the citizens? That might be a good model for other states to say, hey, look what Rhode Island has done. That might put us on the map in that regard.
So leveraging AI for like public services,
Yeah.
for instance, citizen services, and not making it so difficult maybe as a small business to apply for licensing or permitting.
Right, because in the background, AI will be, identifying this person wants a license. Well, if they're going to have this license, they're also going to need this license.
Right.
So using AI to kind of map that orchestrated path.
And create efficiencies within the government too, so there's
Well,
not
yeah,
an individual
of course.
like in the backlog. So now we can move faster and help our citizens and small businesses
Exactly.
and large businesses as well.
Yeah,
Very
it's
good
definitely
point.
the goal to enhance both the worker experience and the customer experience. I think you'll see elements of that obviously in our report as well.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you. All right, so we are the ocean state. There is ocean tech, right? URI. There's workforce development. So there's a lot of areas that we can really own to differentiate amongst the other states that have task force. But hey, we're not last. As we prepare to deliver the report to the governor, what is one action or message you hope state leaders take away from our work?
Well, that's for us.
Yes.
I thought you were going to ask it out there what you'd like to see. I think for us is that it is possible to move forward with regulations possibly, but mostly guidance for everyone. So people understand what kind of supports are out there, what they need to do in going forward, and then education, looking at ways to educate the workforce so that they can take advantage of artificial intelligence.
So with about 10 minutes left, we'll now go into the final stage, which is where we are at with the AI task force. So we've been meeting for about a year now, right? I think we started in the summer of last year. July of last year. And we are now in draft mode, drafting up potential recommendations, getting input from the task force, getting input from individuals like you and Survey and other folks. We're going to finalize that draft, share it with the task force in early June, and then hopefully, turn around really quick somehow and deliver it around the 4th of July to the governor. And that will be our report. That will be publicly available for everyone to review. But the work's not done there. The work just begun. So it's all up to us, everyone in the state, not just the governor or the lieutenant governor or others on the task force, because the task force ceases to exist once we deliver that report. So we need to make sure that we implement those recommendations. So some ideas that we initially have in the short term is to establish a centralized AI governance body, potentially out of the AI Center of Excellence, which is a government entity like an AI hub. We want to embed AI in ethics, in education, in workforce programs. That's a big theme that we heard today. And also maybe some innovation grants, which we actually heard about how Commerce is currently doing something like that. But we really want to help our small businesses, our nonprofits, our startup community, which is thriving in this building, for instance. But then when you think of long-term, we want to create an AI Center of Excellence, maybe an accelerator. We want to launch a statewide AI constituent service hub. So again, how can we create government efficiencies to help our constituents, our citizens, and maybe expand AI integration in life sciences or in the ocean tech, like blue economy. So it heavily around education and workforce. It's ensuring that no one's left behind, as Congressman said. And we want to really not really force, that's why I'm struggling the word, but really motivate others to innovate through grants or accelerators and build that community, which is going to be the most important, because if we don't collectively work together, then it's going to be very fragmented. And one of our advantages of the state is that we're really small. We're really dense. Like, if anyone had to drive 40 minutes, it's probably too long. So you're probably all within the 40-minute radius. But we can really use that population density to our advantage. So those are some of the recommendations potentially, but Congressman, anything else that you think of that we're going to potentially incorporate into the draft report?
Yeah, so I will also say that we definitely want to use our size to our advantage, and I think that's going to provide great research opportunities that will yield real-world results. But also beyond that, leveraging our regional approach as well, and neighboring states, if you will, certainly in the New England area, how we can use that to our benefit. I know that, for example, this area is known as more of a naval center of excellence. In the last BRAC many years ago, where many states were closing bases, Rhode Island actually, and this whole region benefited from future investments in both academia and our military. Again, we want to use that regional approach as well to buy down risk and take advantage of upsides wherever possible. And so that's something else that we want to see leadership happen on the regional level as well.
Well said. Anything you wanted to add?
Well, I think taking the 6 items you listed, one of our strengths is, as everyone said, our density, our size. But out of that comes, we're better at collaborating than many other states are, especially in academia, in industry, and such. And so we're looking at ways to encourage that in the AI space so that we can rapidly upskill the workforce and integrate AI where it needs to be integrated.
Absolutely. And maybe this is a good time. We should have probably did this a little bit earlier, but since Addison's here and he's seeing how AI is being used in his generation right now, and like any technology, young people are digital natives. They're take to fish to water, and I'd love to get Addison's perspective to talk a little bit about what he's seeing and how AI is already being used, whether it's in the classroom or among his peers.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Addison Heffernan. I'm a member of the task force. I'm a senior at Bishop Hendricken High School and will be a freshman at Cornell University in the fall. I've done a lot of research into AI and machine learning. I have a couple papers published in the usage of AI in medicine. And right now, AI it's already penetrated into K-12 education. Kids are using it constantly. Some even think that it is actually too much, but what we're seeing right now is that kids are seeing it as an opportunity, and they're taking their own initiatives to figure out how they can best use it for everything to inside and outside the classroom. And so what I think we're going to see is that because my generation is growing up with this technology, we're going to figure out how we can use it, and then we're going to be some of the biggest promoters of it. I think one of the things is figuring out, since my generation is bullish about this technology, how can we steer this to the good side? As Congressman Langevin said, we can use it for good and we can use it for evil. And kids nowadays are using it in good ways and maybe not so good ways. So being able to integrate into the current education how to make sure that it's used properly.
Perfect. And awesome. Maybe on a bookend side of that, we had a student's perspective and now a practitioner in the classroom, how AI is being used in the classroom, how you're adapting to the fact that it's here.
Right. Well, I think going back to when calculators were first introduced, people were worried that students would forget how to do math. People are, the challenge right now is to ensure that students learn critical thinking, because that's really what we're hoping they get out of their education, is be able to think critically about things. And so this is just another tool. Over the last 25 years, education has radically changed. There's been disruptors like this, first from just the internet being available to students to be able to find information. Then you have students being able to bring their laptops into the classroom, so we have to change how we teach there. Then you have the fact that now they have mobile devices that they can bring into the classroom. We have to adapt again, and now this is just another area for the educators to learn how to adapt. It's different than some of the others, and when we had to go online during COVID, another adaptation. And so, from my perspective, it's okay, how do we adapt to this new technology so that we can still teach and educate students? And students, some are diving in, like Addison, some are a little bit hesitant still. They don't, I've been encouraged by the number of students that don't want to lose that critical thinking skill, so they don't use AI. They share that, no, I don't want to use it for this assignment even though I'm allowed to, just because they want to develop the skills themselves. I do think what Addison mentioned is really important to understand, is that the kids who are growing up now, this is their way of life. Just like the students who are going into college now don't know life without having a cell phone because it's been around for as long as they've been around. So the kids growing up now are going to have AI around as long as they've been around. And so we, especially in higher education, need to prepare for them now, because they're going to start coming into our classrooms.
I mean, my 3-year-old Caden, he talks to AI often, and he just, says little things like, hey, say this word, and she'll say the word back to him, and he'll just talk to him, and he'll think it's funny. And they're going to have AI tutors specialized on an individual basis. What you said is very important in the sense of critical thinking, adaptability, empathy. These are going to be 3 of the most important skills as humans to have in the future, because a lot of hard skills are going to be replaced. But if you use AI for everything, there was an example of, like, let's say you're in an argument with your wife, your boyfriend, and you plug it into AI, it spits it out, and you be like, I am sorry, I take full responsibility, and you care about, and she's like, well, did you use AI for that? Or just the sense of you don't learn through errors, through heartbreak, through figuring things out. And you don't develop those skills. So there needs to be a balance, like anything, when it comes to AI and staying human, but also not getting left in the dust, right? You're more likely to get replaced by someone who has AI skills, even if you have more experience than them. So I do want to leave this before we have our final thoughts of advice or anything that we want to share. I just do want to leave it up to the audience. Again, thank you all for attending here. Is there anything that you would want to ask us while we're here? Is there anything that you'd want to share with your peers?
I want to thank all of you for this conversation, and to the task force for the work that you have been doing. I joined the task force recently in having able to see all the hard work that you already have done. From my perspective, one of the things that I have the biggest concern in that give me pause as someone in government about even using AI for some of the day-to-day work that we do is, what is the ethical rules? Where does it stop? So I'm looking forward to learning from the task force, from all of you here, where does the line is drawn from ethics and for government? I had struggled with the question whether should I use AI to research some talking points, right? I can tell you my communications person refuses to use AI because it's not ethical. So those are some of the things, the questions that we have right now that I would love to explore. How far is too far? That's the question.
Well said, well said. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Appreciate your accessibility. Again, that's what makes Rhode Island so great. Our Lieutenant Governor's here to join the conversation. Anyone else want to share things or?
Good afternoon, everyone. Jason Jordan here from Citizens Bank. So we talked a lot about a lot of the excitement of AI, getting on board with AI. My colleague Rachel and I, we are responsible for several programs at Citizens Bank and the adoption of AI. But one thing I'm hearing from each of you is are we talking enough about the folks that don't want to get on the AI train? And how are we going to remove the fear? That is one of the biggest hills we have to climb daily in our own workforce, but how are we thinking that from all avenues of the AI train and making sure that we're addressing that, even just heard now that one of my staff doesn't want to use it. And that adds to the calculation of being left behind. Mm-hmm. So removing that stigma, I think, is just as equally as important as getting through the training and workforce developments and all the great things we're thinking about, but also our marketing out there of how we're going to remove that fear.
It's a great point. There's going to have to be a public awareness campaign attached with these recommendations. A lot of fear in life comes from the unknown. When we are unaware, uneducated, just unsure about things, right? If you're ever fearful in life, it's usually because you don't know what that outcome's going to be. As humans, we like things very structured, black and white. We like to know what's going to happen next, but that doesn't always happen. And AI is the biggest game changer in any of our lives. I promise you that. So it's obviously fearful in that sense. You want to feel that you have agency in your own life. And AI could disrupt that. So there is definitely concerns. And before we can even talk about AI adoption, maybe we should talk about the stigma around AI and ensuring that we're educating the public of what are the benefits, but also being very open about what are the risks when it comes to AI.
Before I was in academia, I was a IT consultant. I put together large computer systems, and change management is one of the hardest things, getting people on board. And it has to start almost as soon as you get the concept for the project that you're doing. And so I feel for you. And as Chris said, a big part of it is education, but then again, letting them dip their feet in the water with little tasks or projects or pieces that starts to build that trust. And as they trust it more and they see they're not going to lose their job, they start to come on board more. But it's a challenge with any new technology being implemented.
From a professional standpoint, I usually ask someone, what's the most mundane thing that you do? And then focus on showing them how AI can help with that. Or I'll go the personal route and be like, hey, enter in all of the items that are in your refrigerator to AI and let it suggest to you what types of recipes and give it like what type of diet you want, and then have it give you a recipe instructions on how to make it, right? And they're like, oh my God, so either can do little fun things like that and just let them know that a lot of it's free. You could use Gemini with Google. You could use ChatGPT. There's a lot of free versions out there. So adoption is a key part of that. But it also comes from leadership. So leadership at the state level, leadership at the business level. Our motto at Trailblaze is AI is not here to replace you, but to enhance you, right? AI is going to allow you to be more creative and more strategic and allow to maybe to 10x our output to help our clients succeed and grow. But it's not here to replace you, right? I don't want a smaller team. We want a larger team and a team maybe a little less stressed. Maybe a team that can have Fridays off. Just kidding. We do have half Fridays every Friday, so you'll see it as Hot Club sometimes on Friday afternoons. But how can AI make your life better and really kind of position it as such? So with that being said, is there anyone else that wanted to share anything else?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to piggyback on the fear situation. I know there are a lot of concerns. I'm lucky enough to work with two companies that are relatively AI forward thinking and trying to implement those in things that we're doing in everyday stuff to help kind of, accentuate and improve what we're doing as employees. But I know, even in that situation, I have some hesitancies around AI and the use of AI, both from an environmental and energy standpoint, and just the costs there and what are we willing to give up for that as it grows. And as it is used more, it's going to use more and more energy and stuff like that. But then also from the employee workforce situation, I work for companies that aren't getting rid of the people and are, encouraging people to use AI to improve their own work life. But then you have CEOs like the CEO of Shopify that's saying no more jobs unless there's a proven example that AI can't do that job. So like there are industries like especially art and marketing and things like that are industries that will be shrinking from AI use. But where do those workers go when there are also people saying no more jobs unless AI can't do it? And like that kind of, so I think there are like some valid fears there that could also use some addressing beyond just like the, I don't know, agency perspective.
I think it's all fears are valid, and I think that's one of the biggest concerns is jobs. Just that's why workforce development's going to be a key pillar of the task force recommendations. It's a real concern. We're not going to sugarcoat it, but they were very concerned when the internet was created. They were very concerned when the Industrial Revolution was created that a lot of jobs, people would be out of work, right? But then it created more GDP, created more jobs. Same thing with the internet. Same thing with social media. No one knew that there's going to be these influencer jobs, right? Even though those are going to be replaced with AI now. But there's a lot of new jobs that will be created, and we're really hoping that the net is a positive, and that we're preparing our constituents, our workforce, to get those new jobs in from the K through 12, the higher ed, and also post-education. But they're very, very valid concerns and a great point that you make. So, Dr.
One more question.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
I work at URI. I'm working in the innovation team, and we're tasked for exploring pilot use of AI at the university. And I have to say that I'm encouraged that it does seem like there's a lot of people doing a lot of the same work. And I can tell you that we're struggling at the moment as we're moving forward. And our project is several areas. One is establishing the ROI for AI and how to budget that and justify that. And the second thing is that we're sort of struggling with is that the sort of freedom of the education environment. And there's always been the concern of students using AI for their classwork. But also the AI now is changing where the staff and faculty and everyone can now use agents to perform tasks on their own files and drives and applications. And that gives the AI a lot of power to work independently. And if people are building their own agents to do that, so there's a lot of concern with that. And so I'm just encouraged this group to sort of share policies and procedures that might be useful through the state and any type of metrics that you're using to justify the AI use. There's a lot of things that we're still trying to research to determine how we're going to be able to use this product and this budget situation. And we've got to have a clear justification, and it's got to match up with our mission statements. So,
Right.
So that's where we're at in that. I just wanted to add that.
That's a great point. And coordinating was another point you kind of mentioned in the beginning. If we're all doing these things in silos, that's not as advantageous if we're going to do it collectively. So, Dr. Tim Henry, we'll start with you, then we'll end with Congressman Langevin. If you have one final quick thought for our audience.
I think that part of our role through this is to provide guardrails in education, and through those two pieces, the fear will be reduced and people start to see what the advantages are and the best ways to implement it going forward.
I would just say that, we'll end where we started, which is, we want to make sure that Rhode Island is well positioned to take advantage of every upside of AI, but we're preparing for and guarding against any downside. And this will be an ongoing work in progress, and oversight and involvement, public input is going to continue to be absolutely essential. Forums like this are important, as well as the survey, and because the work of the members of the task force. It's a collective team effort, and we appreciate your presence here today and for being a part of the conversation and the guidance. So thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you for your leadership. And my final thought is community. It's all about if we build a community where we collectively work together, whether it's at the institutional level or at the individual level, we can make Rhode Island a leader in this AI revolution. We want to stay on top of our leaders, our elected officials, our leaders in our companies, and ensure we're on the right path. But we also have to take ownership of it ourselves, learn about it as much as we can, because if we could develop the best policies, but if we don't have a population that's taking advantage of it, then it will be all for naught. So feel free to follow me on LinkedIn to go join an AI in RI LinkedIn group. That's one mechanism where we're building a community. Again, I'm Chris Parisi. You can find me on LinkedIn, and then we'll send the invite to the AI in RI group. And yeah, just keep coming to these events, learn, and have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for attending. We'll stay by for the next 15 minutes or so if anyone has any other questions on an individual basis. Thank you so much.
Well done, Chris. Thank you.
All right.